Tonight, Dad's Weekend at WSU is just beginning.
And the U.S. flexes its military muscles towards North Korea yet again.
And we give you an update on Cougar sports. Murrow News 8 starts now.
From Studio B on the campus of Washington State University, this is Pullman's only nightly newscast. This is Murrow News 8.
Good evening, I'm Alfredo Llanos.
And I'm Majestic Storm. Welcome to Murrow News 8. Cougars are welcoming their dads into town for Dad's Weekend. There's a lot to do. Until Sunday, all kinds of events are happening across the campus of Washington State University. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., students can take their dads to witness the university's annual pumpkin drop at Webster Hall, and a special guest is making an appearance at Beasley Coliseum. Seth Meyers' performance is expected to bring in thousands of dollars into WSU. The campus has been buzzing since the Student Entertainment Board announced the performance of the former SNL star. The Beasley director expects to sell somewhere between 40 to 4,500 tickets, which could bring in about $200,000. Meyers joins a long list of big names that include performances from Gabriel Iglesias, Howie Mandel, and Whoopi Goldberg.
WSU colleges are finalizing their spending cuts. President Kirk Schultz plans to eliminate the university deficit, asks all departments to decrease spending by 2.5%. The WSU overspent its budget by $20 to $30 million annually for the past 3 years, resulting in reserve funds dropping by about $100 million. Schultz expects to reduce deficit spending by $20 million this year and ultimately expects the entire deficit to be eliminated by 2020. After receiving a request to cut the spending, the Office of Student Affairs at Washington State found a way to permanently fund 3 multicultural student services positions. The positions were expected to be cut due to university-wide budget cuts imposed by WSU President Kirk Schultz, but the decision to keep those positions came after a second review of the budgets when the department found the funding to keep the positions.
As the university begins its sweeping budget cuts, renovations for WSU's Troy Hall finished last spring. After being both over budget and delayed, the building is now open to the public. Troy Hall was built in 1926, and this is the first time renovations were added to the space. Laboratory areas with extensive update systems were added to support sophisticated labs for chemistry and environmental studies.
We added 3 months of time to the overall project, mostly due to when you're doing a renovation, especially a major demolition component to it, you discover things, in our case, lots of asbestos.
The renovation cost over $32 million with $114,000 worth of funding coming from the Washington State Legislature. The building that once was a home of Ferdinand's Creamery will house both the chemistry department and the School of the Environment.
A Sonic drive-in fast food restaurant could be constructed in Moscow as soon as next year. The expected location is in the northeast corner of Rosar's parking lot in North Main Street. Moscow Community Development Director Bill Belknap listed a few other sites in Moscow with projects underway that should be completed by fall 2018. These projects include multifamily residential units and commercial retail buildings. The Pullman School District Board of Directors is being named one of the 22 schools in Washington to receive the Board of Distinction Award. The award recognizes collaboration, leadership, oversight, and dedication students to the community. The board applied for the recognition earlier this fall and submitted data that show the efforts to close the opportunity gaps for students.
Musician Paul Henning, a violinist who worked on Star Wars, will be speaking at Washington State University. Henning is a WSU alumni and Pullman native who majored in music. A year after graduating, Henning attended the University of Southern California to complete a 1-year film scoring program. Henning will be sharing his story of going from Pullman to working on the score of Star Wars. The presentation is Monday at 7 p.m. in the Cobb Auditorium. Students are taking their entertainment to the next level. Alex Clark went to see how The Room invites students to become a part of the movie.
University Student Entertainment Board hosted a showing of the 2003 movie The Room in an effort to try and win a free pre-screening of the new movie The Disaster Artist, based on The Room.
He came to me with the prompt from his old bosses, actually, so we got a really cool opportunity to kind of bring another aspect to films that I was really interested in.
Interactive movies are not like normal movies. For a normal movie, you're supposed to just go sit down and enjoy the film. For an interactive film, you're supposed to get loud and rowdy and participate along with the film. Like say there'll be a prompt where you're supposed to just go and take popcorn and throw it at the screen. The Room is no different, where they have a list of the #1 things you're supposed to say and do at certain key points in the movie. Some of the prompts included throwing around footballs whenever the characters tossed around a football, throwing spoons at the screen when a picture of a spoon appears, and chanting when there is a panning shot of the Golden Gate Bridge.
It's so subtle and so bad you don't notice it, and it's so good. It makes you laugh. Like, it's almost uncomfortable to where it makes you laugh.
One of the schools competing in the contest is WSU rival University of Washington. However, they declined to comment on their showing of the film. We found out the reason why was that the rules for the contest state that you cannot talk about other schools in advertising and other mediums about the event. Alex Clark, Murrow News 8.
I couldn't really imagine going to a movie theater where you're literally throwing popcorn and forks at the screen.
I mean, you usually get those people that talk and don't let you enjoy the movie, but in this case, I guess it was okay.
Yeah.
When we come back from break, we'll update you about sexual harassment allegations on Capitol Hill.
And President Donald Trump gets ready for his trip to Asia.
Oh!
Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
No more pencils, no more books.
No more teachers' dirty looks.
School's out for summer.
School's out forever.
School's out with fever.
School's out completely.
What this place needed was better graduation rates. So we worked with schools like Henry Ford High, and now they're up 18%. And it can happen in every place.
School's out for summer.
To help us do more good this year, go to unitedway.org, because great things happen when we live united.
Dad's home!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Don't worry, the 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play more. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
One current and 3 former congresswomen in the U.S. House of Representatives are alleging sexual harassment by their male colleagues. According to the Associated Press, the incidents happened years to decades ago, and the harassment allegations range from repeated unwanted advances to even groping on the House floor. Lawmakers declined to identify the perpetrators' names. President Donald Trump's tweets are stirring up more political controversy. Trump said he won't rule out firing Attorney General Jeff Sessions if Sessions won't investigate Democrats. Trump said if he is disappointed with the Justice Department and believes the Democrats should be investigated. Trump also tweeted several times this morning criticizing Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. In one of his tweets, Trump said that he thinks Hillary Clinton brought the Democratic National Committee and stole the Democratic Party from Bernie Sanders.
President Trump is going to Asia for his first official visit as president. As part of the trip, Trump will visit South Korea's capital, Beijing, and Tokyo to discuss North Korea's mission and nuclear weapons program. Security and trade will be the primary focus for President Trump when he makes his first stop in Japan beginning on Sunday. President Trump's national security advisor says North Korea may return to the list of countries the U.S. believes sponsors terrorism. The announcement comes as the Trump administration works to decrease the country's growing nuclear threat. H.R. McMaster said a denuclearized Korean peninsula is the only plausible outcome. President Trump left for his 12-day trip to Asia this morning. In addition to the president's trips, 2 U.S. supersonic bombers flew over the Korean peninsula for bombing exercises and as a show force against North Korea. The B-1B bombers based in Guam were escorted by 2 South Korean F-16 fighter jets. The drills simulated attacks on land but didn't involve live weapons. North Korea's state media denounced the exercise as a surprise nuclear strike drill and said gangster-like U.S. imperialists were seeking to ignite a nuclear war. The Syrian army liberates yet another city from ISIS. The power struggles started to fall away from ISIS as the eastern city of Darylis has been reclaimed by Syrian forces. Darylis is the largest city in eastern Syria and is liberated after Islamic forces from 3 years. The victory means ISIS terrorists will be isolated into smaller groups, the loss of this oil reservoirs and accesses to the Iraqi border.
Bo Bergdahl received a dishonorable discharge from the U.S. Army, but will avoid prison time. The former soldier, Bergdahl, abandoned his post in Afghanistan in 2009. The Taliban held Bergdahl captive for 5 years and was released in 2014 in exchange for 5 Guantanamo Bay detainees. United States employers are now hiring 261,000 new jobs. These jobs are being created to help with all the construction caused by hurricane season. The hurricane swept through the southern portion of the United States and caused millions of dollars worth of damage. The new jobs will hopefully inject life into the struggling economy. The U.S. rate for gun deaths is up for the 2nd straight year, and about 2/3 of those are from suicide. Firearm deaths rose from 12 deaths to 100,000 last year and are up from 11 deaths per 100,000 in 2015. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there were 38,000 gun deaths in the last year. People marched in honor of the 8 people killed in ISIS attack in New York. The march began near the spot where authorities said Sifullah Puff drove a truck into bike paths, hitting cyclists and pedestrians in his path. Some marchers carried candles while others pushed bicycles in solidarity with the victims. The mourners included Harry Kaysen, a student in the Manhattan school where one of the victims, Nicholas Cleaves, worked part-time. Puff is facing terrorism charges. And it's crazy how, a city like New York can just come together in support of terrible disasters.
It was such a sad thing that happened, but it was really neat to see that the community came together to unite.
The temperatures continue to drop below freezing at night.
We can expect to see some snow over this week, and Derek Baker will give you your 5-day forecast after the break.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
We finally bought a place.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
So at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save. How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
So good to see you guys. So, what's up?
We finally bought a place.
Holy cow.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
Jeez, at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save.
Yeah, I have no idea where it goes.
Well, you're spending a lot on...
Was it good? Oh, God. Oh, how is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
ballerina.
Sometimes all it takes to be a dad is remembering how to be a kid again. Take time to be a dad today.
With all the dads coming into town, it seems like they're bringing the cold weather with them. Derek, what kind of weather will we be seeing this weekend?
Well, Fred, what was originally anticipated as a cold, wet weekend actually might be a little different. However, as we can see today, Pullman received consistent bursts of rain throughout the day, temperatures ranging within the mid-30s. We had a high of about 42 today with the average around 38 degrees. As we move on into tomorrow's weather, we can see that what was expected to be a super rainy and cold day will actually be a little bit different. As we enter in the morning, we can see that we'll have cloudy weather with about 38 degrees in temperature. And then as we move on into the later portion of the afternoon, we will expect to see a temperature drop as well as the rain and snow that we might see leading into the game. However, as we move on into the evening, we can see that the rain and snow will be gone with clouds and cold temperatures around 37 degrees, which is good for us Cougar football fans because the Cougs play way better in the cold. Stanford's more of a warm weather team. As we move on to our state map, we can see that Seattle and Olympia on the west side of the map did receive some snow today, with temperatures ranging between the low 40s and high 30s. Vancouver didn't receive any snow today because the temperature was a little too high. They experienced constant rain with pokes of sunshine here or there. As we look at the middle of the state, we can see that Wenatchee and Yakima didn't receive any snow either, but consistent rains as the temperatures were in Yakima the high 40s and low 40s for Wenatchee. As we move on to our 5-day forecast, on Sunday we can expect to see a little bit of snow as the temperatures continue to drop towards that freezing level. And as for the rest of the week, we have kind of a wonky schedule as we see clouds and then snow during or rain during the later in the week, and then expect clouds. Fred, back to you.
Thanks, Derek. When we come back, we give you an update on the Cougar sports and how the NBA season is shaping up.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Good one, son. Last summer, my new dad took me on vacation. First, we went deep sea fishing. Wow!
I'm so proud of you, son.
And then we went on Thunder Shark. That was awesome! Let's go again. 3 times. I gotta say, it was pretty cool.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Oh, not again.
If you want to be a parent, it doesn't matter how you play, what you wear, how you dance, or even what direction life takes you. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Tomorrow afternoon, the Washington State University Cougar football team will take on the Stanford Cardinal, who was ranked #1 in the Pac-12 North. Stanford looks to continue their bid for the Pac-12 championship, while the Cougars look to regain their footing after dropping 2 games in October. The game kicks off at Martin Stadium tomorrow at 12:30 noon. While the football team is at home for Dad's Weekend, WSU soccer team heads over to Seattle to face rivalry University of Washington for their last game of the regular season. After beating both Arizona and Arizona State, the Cougs are determined to beat the Huskies. The big rivalry game will start at 7 p.m. in Seattle at the Husky Soccer Stadium and will be broadcasted on Pac-12 networks.
Washington State's volleyball team suffered a loss at the hands of the Utah Utes last night in Salt Lake City. The loss brought a WSU overall record of 14-12, but their conference record is just 3-11. The Cougs have a break for a week before they're back in action next weekend with matches on back-to-back days facing off with Cal and Stanford. Basketball season is upon us, and WSU Cougars women's basketball team gave a preview to their fans earlier this week. Austin Getz tells us what to watch from the Cougs this year.
Of a season that saw them make the Final Four of the WNIT tournament, Washington State's women's basketball team returned to Beasley Coliseum for a season-opening exhibition game against the Masters College on Wednesday night. And for the first time since the beginning of last season, head coach June Doherty had her entire team on the court.
I got kind of tired of sitting there with 60 points sitting on the bench in boots and crutches, but, you know, hats off to the players who got us all the way to the Final Four in the WNIT. That was just remarkable mental toughness on that group.
A trip to the Final Four in the WNIT tournament is impressive, no doubt, but it's even more impressive when you consider that Washington State was out 3 of its starters last year. Those 3 include Chanel Molina and Borislava Rostova, both back as sophomores this year, and Louise Brown, who is a junior. That trio was back on the court Wednesday night and in limited time on the floor racked up 24 points in what ended up being a blowout against the Mustangs. Senior guard Kayla Haley was one of just 2 starters last year to not suffer a season-ending injury, and she's also happy to see her teammates return to the floor.
It felt really good having everybody back. I think our biggest thing is just kind of getting the injured players back and molding them back into what we had last year. You know, we didn't have them last year during the postseason, and we did great things. So now we have to carry that over to this year. And
with so much firepower back in the lineup, it's no surprise that Washington State won by a final score of 95-57. Coach Doherty hints that this could be just the beginning for the Cougar offense.
It's been a long time since we put 100 shots up. That's really exciting. We talk about being a high-octane offense and being an exciting, entertaining team, and I think you might have seen a little bit of a glimpse of that.
The Cougs will be back in action next Friday when they take on UC Davis. For Murrow News 8, I'm Austin Getz.
2 players on the women's basketball team are reuniting on the court for the first time since they played together in high school. Dax McCoy interviewed 2 sisters who share a special bond on and off the court.
Who played on courts like this one all their lives together until last year when Chanel, the oldest, signed to play with Washington State. After a season of being on her own, Chanel finally has one of her sisters as a teammate.
I'm really excited, like having a sister on the court with me. It's really comforting. Like another 4 more years playing with my sisters, that's just crazy.
But Selena's transitional period is much easier than her sister's.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be really tough, but it turned out to be okay because my sister was there to guide me.
Washington State coaching likes all of the Molina sisters and gave Chanel an offer she couldn't pass on.
He said, hey, Chanel, if you come, let's bring your sister. And yeah, we wanted them both, and it was a package deal, and it was a good package.
Having Selena in a Cougar uniform solves some woes Chanel endured last year.
Chanel was really homesick as a freshman last year just because she got injured. She's away from the island for the first time in her life.
Without their third sister, Sherilyn, their triplet attack will take another year to be fully implemented, but WSU is already recruiting her. Dax McCoy, Murrow News 8.
Rookie sensation Deshaun Watson will miss the remainder of the season after tearing his ACL in practice yesterday. The disappointment for Houston fans comes just one day after the Houston Astros won the World Series. Watson tore his ACL during a non-contact practice. Tom Savage will take over as a Texan quarterback for the remainder of the season.
In other NFL news, Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott is once again eligible to play on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals granted an administrative stay to the NFL Player Association. This decision means that Elliott's 6-game suspension is on hold again. Elliott received a 6-game suspension on August after he violated the league's personal conduct policy. The Portland Trail Blazers defeated the Los Angeles Lakers 113-110 in Portland last night as Damian Lillard hit a three-point buzzer beater to steal the victory over the Blazers. Lillard led the game to scoring with 32 points, going 14 for 14 at the free throw line. Brook Lopez led the Lakers to scoring with 27, while Kyle Kuzma had 22 off the bench.
The GOP rolled out 429-page tax proposal on Thursday, and only one person's name was mentioned by name, NBA superstar Steph Curry. Curry was mentioned to show the difference between his individual income and the pass-through business income of a fictional store called Steve's Bike Shop. When asked what he thought about it, Curry called it weird. In another Western Conference showdown, the Golden State Warriors came back from 18 points down to defeat the San Antonio Spurs to 112-92 in San Antonio. Last night, Steph Curry, Klay Thomas, and Kevin Durant combined for 72 of the team's total points. The Spurs are without star player Kawhi Leonard, who is still recovering from the leg injury he sustained in the Western Conference Championship last year.
And here's with us is our sport expert, Derek Baker. Derek, what do you think of these past NBA games?
Well, I really liked what I saw from the Lakers. Again, the Lakers are a team with a new head coach. They had the #2 pick, so the record wasn't that good. They played a really good game against the Portland Trail Blazers, but Damian Lillard is just a man in his own sort of era. He's just so many things that guy can do. Moving on to the Warriors and the Spurs, I thought the Warriors had a really good win. Playing a good team like this, especially on the road, is always tough. However, the lack of points from the bench was really shocking for the Warriors. 88 of the 122 points were from the Big Four from Golden State.
After the break, we'll talk about how President Trump's Twitter was briefly deactivated.
And we see it through Harvey Weinstein's disguise.
So Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it, I see it. Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
No more pencils, no more books.
No more teachers, dirty looks.
School's out
for summer.
What this place needed was better graduation rates. So we worked with schools like Henry Ford High, and now they're up 18%.
To help us do more good this year, go to unitedway.org because great things happen when we live united.
President Donald Trump's Twitter account disappeared for several minutes on Thursday night, but was restored only after 11 minutes. Twitter posted a statement saying that the president's account was deactivated due to human error. The temporary outage was long enough for fellow tweeters to notice, and they responded by posting jokes about the situation. Harvey Weinstein tried to sneak out in public and was spotted in a disguise. The Shame Hollywood producer, being accused for sexual assault by multiple Hollywood actresses, was seen last night in a blonde wig and orange makeup at a Phoenix restaurant.
Thank you for watching us. Join us every weeknight at 7 and 10 p.m. for Pullman's only nightly newscast.
Have a great night, and don't forget to follow Murrow News 8 on Facebook and Twitter.
Good night, Pullman.